Hey everybody, this is Josh from Twisted Tools. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to load your own samples into Native Instruments POLYPLEX. Right now I'm running POLYPLEX inside a machine, so I want to click on the plus button here to see the full view of POLYPLEX and click on the edit button here to see the reactor header. Once I do so, I click on this sample map editor button here at the top and it opens the reactor sample map editor. Down below you'll see this menu here. And this menu shows you all the different sample maps that are part of the default factory maps for POLYPLEX. You don't want to mess with these unless you know what you're doing, because if you erase these samples, you'll mess with your default presets. What you want to do is you want to use the user map here. The user map allows you to load your own sounds into POLYPLEX without overwriting any of the factory sounds. So in order to load sounds into POLYPLEX, you could drag and drop from your desktop, or you could use the Reactor browser and navigate to some files. I've got about 13 files selected here right now. I'm going to go ahead and drag these, and I'm going to drag them to the keyboard and drag all the way down. I'm going to be very careful to make sure that there's only one sample per note assigned, and you could kind of see that here graphically. I also want to make sure that I'm dragging to the first note here on the far left. Sometimes this scroll bar is scrolled over to the right, and when you drag the samples in, you may not realize that you've been dragging them not to the first note, but to a couple octaves up. So just be sure that you're scrolled over before you drag these samples in there. Now there's 13 samples now loaded, and in order to select those from within the POLYPLEX interface, I'm going to go ahead and close the sample map editor here, and I'm going to go to my type layer here for the sound. And you'll see here, if I select kick from the drop down, I can now choose user, and I've now assigned the kick layer, which was before kick drums, now to use the user map instead. And it's set to use samples 0 through 127, which would be fine if I had loaded 128 samples into POLYPLEX, but I've only loaded 13. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I set the range sliders here to go, or the range selector to go from 0 to 13. Then whenever I'm using this sample select slider to select a different sample in the map, I'm selecting samples 0 to 13, and I could never select outside that range, which would end up producing an empty note or an empty sound, because my samples are empty over here. Right? Nothing loaded on the keyboard. So definitely set your range correctly if you've only loaded certain sounds. If you've used a full map of 128 sounds, go ahead and set that to 0 to 128. Now once I've done this, the only thing I need to do is save my project. And when I save my project, it's going to recall all the different locations of all the user files that I've added to POLYPLEX. Now this is really cool if, for example, you want to load multiple instances of POLYPLEX inside your DAW or your host. Each one could have a different set of user samples loaded in the user map. It's really powerful, it's really easy to use, and all you need to do is save your project, and each time you reopen your project, it's going to remember where those samples are located. So it's a really powerful feature. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave us a comment. Take care. Bye-bye.